The road through Blackridge Forest. No one in the nearby towns liked to talk about Blackridge Forest. If the name came up in a bar or at a gas station, conversations usually died out. Someone would change the subject, laugh awkwardly, or say something like, "That place isn't safe at night." But if you asked why, people rarely gave a clear answer. Some said hikers disappeared there. Others claimed hunters heard voices in the woods when no one else was around. And the oldest residents sometimes mentioned something else, something worse. They talked about howling, not the kind wolves make. Something deeper, something almost human. Daniel never believed any of it. He was a freelance photographer who traveled across Europe documenting abandoned places. Old factories, empty villages, forgotten roads. His followers loved the eerie atmosphere, and Blackridge Forest had recently been suggested by several viewers. Drive through it at night, one comment said. You'll hear them, said another. Daniel assumed it was just local folklore meant to scare tourists. So on a cold autumn evening, he decided to prove that the stories were nonsense. The road into Blackridge Forest was narrow and cracked, barely wide enough for 2 cars. Trees leaned over it like silent watchers. Their branches tangled high above the asphalt. By the time Daniel entered the forest, the sky was already dark. His headlights carved a thin tunnel of light through the trees. Leaves scraped across the windshield. The deeper he drove, the quieter everything became. No birds, no wind, not even insects. Just the low hum of his engine. After about 20 minutes, Daniel slowed down and glanced at the GPS on his phone. No signal. Of course, he muttered. The road curved sharply ahead. As he turned the wheel, the headlights swept across something standing near the trees. Daniel slammed the brakes. A man stood at the side of the road. At least, it looked like a man. He was tall and thin, wearing what seemed to be an old hunting coat. His face was pale in the headlights, almost gray, and his hair hung down in messy strands. The strange thing was that he wasn't moving. He just stood there, watching the car. Daniel rolled down the window. "Hey," he called. "You okay out here?" The man didn't answer. For a moment, Daniel considered driving away. Something about the situation felt wrong. But then the man slowly stepped closer. His movements were stiff and unnatural, like someone who had forgotten how to walk properly. Daniel forced a polite smile. "Do you need help?" The man stopped just outside the beam of the headlights. Daniel noticed something odd. The man was breathing heavily, too heavily. His chest rose and felt like he had been running for miles. And then Daniel heard it, a low growling sound. It came from the man's throat. Daniel's smile faded. "Are you all right?" The man lifted his head. For a split second, Daniel thought the light was playing tricks on him. The man's eyes glowed yellow. Then the man spoke, but the voice wasn't normal. It sounded strained, as if his throat was tearing apart while forming the words. "You should not be here." Daniel felt a chill crawl up his spine. "I'm just passing through." The man's expression twisted. Something in his face moved. Bones shifted under the skin. Daniel leaned forward, squinting. "What the?" A loud crack echoed through the forest. The man screamed, but it wasn't a human scream. His body bent forward violently, his back arched as if something inside him was trying to break out. Another crack. His arms lengthened, his fingers twisted, nails stretched into claws. Daniel stared in horror as the man collapsed onto the road, convulsing. The coat tore open. Dark fur pushed through the fabric. No, this isn't real. The creature rose slowly. It was at least 2 meters tall now. Its legs bent backward like an animal's. The head lifted into the light. A long snout, rows of sharp teeth, and glowing yellow eyes fixed directly on Daniel. The 12th of March, 2026, 1938. Vladimir, a werewolf. Daniel's mind refused to accept what he was seeing. Impossible, he whispered. The creature inhaled deeply, smelling the air. Then its lips curled into something like a smile. Daniel finally reacted. He slammed the car into reverse. The tires screeched as the car sped backward down the road. In the rearview mirror, he saw the creature standing still in the headlights, watching. Then it threw its head back and howled. The sound froze Daniel's blood, because the howl didn't echo alone. Far away in the forest, another howl answered, then another, and another. Daniel's heart began pounding. Oh God! He turned the car around and drove as fast as the narrow road allowed. Branches whipped against the sides of the vehicle. The forest blurred past, but after several minutes of driving, something was wrong. The rower. D looked the same. The same broken sign. The same fallen tree near the ditch. He had passed it already. Daniel slowed down. That's not possible. He checked the GPS again. Still no signal. Then the engine coughed. The dashboard lights flickered, and the car died. The vehicle rolled to a stop in the middle of the road. Daniel tried the ignition. Nothing. Silence filled the forest again. Then, snap, a branch broke somewhere behind the car. Daniel turned slowly. His headlights illuminated the empty road behind him. But just beyond the light, something moved. Tall shapes stepped between the trees. 1, 2, 5, more. Dozens of glowing yellow eyes appeared in the darkness. Daniel's breathing became shallow. No. A massive figure stepped onto the road. It was the same creature he had seen transform earlier. But now it wasn't alone. The others surrounded the road on both sides, watching him, waiting. Daniel grabbed his phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam trembled in his shaking hand. The nearest creature stepped closer. Its claws scraped across the asphalt with a slow, deliberate sound. Step, step, step. Daniel pressed himself against the car door. Stay back. The werewolf tilted its head. Then something horrifying happened. It laughed, a deep, broken sound that still carried a trace of human voice. Behind it, the other creatures began to move, slowly, closing the circle. Daniel realized something in that moment that chilled him more than anything else. These weren't mindless monsters. They were hunting, and he was the prey. The leader stepped closer until it stood only a few meters away. Its nose twitched again, smelling fear. Daniel fumbled for the door handle and jumped out of the car. He ran into the forest. Branches tore at his jacket. Roots nearly tripped him in the darkness. Behind him, the creatures followed. Not running, walking, confident. They knew he couldn't escape. The howling began again. Louder, closer. Daniel sprinted through the trees until his lungs burned. Then he saw something ahead. A small cabin. Old, rotting, but it had a door. Daniel rushed inside and slammed it shut. The cabin smelled like dust and mold. Moonlight slipped through broken boards in the walls. Daniel grabbed a rusty chair and shoved it against the door. His hands were shaking violently. Outside, the forest had gone silent. For several long seconds, nothing happened. Then he heard footsteps. Slow, heavy, crunching leaves. Something stopped right outside the cabin. A claw scraped across the wooden door. Daniel held his breath. Another scratch, then another. More footsteps approached. Soon he heard several creatures outside, circling the cabin. One of them sniffed loudly. Another growled. The door trembled slightly as something heavy leaned against it. Daniel whispered to himself, "This can't be real. This can't be real." Then a voice came from outside. A human voice. Soft, almost friendly. "Daniel." His blood turned to ice. "How do you know my name?" The voice chuckled. "We smell everything." A long pause followed. Then the voice spoke again. "You ran very well." The 12th of March, 2026, 1938. Vladimir. Daniel backed away from the door. But the forest. A claw slowly punched through the wood. "Belongs to us." The door exploded inward. Daniel screamed, and the forest filled with howling that night. The next morning, a passing truck driver noticed an abandoned car on the road near Blackridge Forest. The driver reported it to the police. When officers arrived, they found the vehicle empty. The driver's door was open, and the forest nearby was filled with strange tracks. Large, clawed, walking on two legs. Daniel was never found, but locals say that sometimes, late at night, when the moon is full, you can hear a new howl echo through Blackridge Forest, one that sounds strangely human.